together. This is our look back at the 2008 ABSA Off-Road Championship Series. 8 races, more than 4,000 kilometers of hard grinding rain, and 6 classes to be contested. We're off to round 1 of the National Championship, the Nissan Dealer 400 in the Western Cape. Darling has, over the last 5 years, provided the season opener with a dry, hot and dusty race that sets the tone for the 7 remaining events in the ABSA Off-Road Championship. Nissan's defending national champ Duncan Vos was flying away up front, while Mark Grenier and his navigator Chris Birkin kept the chopper pilot on his toes with some exceptional driving. The pair were newly crowned national rally champs in class and were trying to be quick, yet also conserve the Toyota. Mountaineer Ivar Tollefson and his British navigator Quinn Evans were climbing up the standings, backing up Vos and 3-time champion Hannes Grobler in their Nissan Navara. The multi-talented motorcycle legend Alfie Cox and his co-driver Henny ter Steege in the all-new Motorrad SP were also hoping to add to their already impressive list of achievements in 08. Bevan Berthold and Robin Houghton were 7th in the SP class and going well. The research and development department at Toyota had been busy, and it showed. Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer's Ford Ranger raised not just a few eyebrows by taking the fastest loop after helping at an accident scene and raced into 3rd place. But the dust throughout was debilitating and robbed teams of any and all visibility at times. But the Micron Excel dealer team Toyota, father and son Hicho and Jaap de Bruin, soldiered on regardless. George and Sharon Barkhuizen tested their marriage vows in car, but this time there was no need for that, as they debuted the Rurikon Toyota Hilux in the SP class. Forward were trying to keep the top 10 blue and white. Kobus van Tonder and Rian Guapa and the Unifreight Ford Ranger took 6th, battling the billowing powdery dust all the way. The scene was set early on, not just for the Nissan Dealer 400, but also for the rest of the season in all 6 classes. And there was a lot of racing still to be done. In 07, Nissan won 7 out of 8 races, and the other manufacturers were all ready to topple them from their lofty perch. Meanwhile, Coetzee Labuschagne and Johan Gerber were setting the pace in Class D. And Team Barbespan's Jannie Visser and Joks Leroux had taken the lead in Class E in their Toyota. This was a battle that raged all season long and was one that intrigued scribes and fans alike. With second-placed Class E races, Thomas Rundle and Brian Roberts in the Bowden Tyre Services Nissan Hardbody starting their year on just the right note. The class racing was exceptionally competitive, as it always is in the ABSA Off-Road Championship. And campaigning for the first time in the SP class, the green and black Landy of Harold and Tian Kun trundled into view to mark their debut. They took 7th. In Class D, the brothers Matten, Henry and Maurice had battled to get their Ryobi Nissan going after the prologue, but they eventually did, and from here on in, they were very impressive. But Cliff Weichelt and Jimmy Goch in the N1 4x4 were earmarked to be their greatest competition for the year 2008. In Class E, Jack Peckham and Lotero Santoro in their 2.5-litre diesel Ford Ranger filled 3rd place. But back in Darling at the finish line, the Nissan celebrations were firing up. Duncan Vos clocked 4 hours and 44 minutes, leading the way home with a scant 36 seconds to spare. With Labuschagne and Gerber triumphant in Class D and their Nissan by 13 minutes, and in E it was Visser and Leroux who had a 4-minute gap over Rundle and Roberts. Vos had just picked up where he'd left off in 2007 and was pleased as punch.
We had a perfect weekend. It started off on a good note on Thursday when we shook the cars down, and they felt really good. And I thought we were going to be in for a good weekend after Thursday. But it was perfect. You know, we didn't have one little bit of drama with the car. It ran perfectly, no funny noises, nothing. Rafi was great, and Hannes made one mistake. I think he stalled his car on one of the turns, and we passed him, and that's the name of the game these days. You cannot make a mistake. It's so competitive.
The Eastern Cape 500 round 2 of the 2008 ABSA Off-Road Championship was a tough challenge. This route was totally different to any other the 60 drivers in the production car class and the specials had faced before. A substantial part of the event, reduced from 1,000 k's to 500 because of recent fuel price hikes, was to run in the Longmore Forest area in and around Port Elizabeth. Lots of blind rises and corners with drop-offs, off-camber corners and other surprises made up the route, consisting of 2 legs which covered 430 kilometers. Vos, with standing driver young Louis Weichelt at his side, was not having a smooth ride and battled electrical problems all the way through for a disappointing 7th place, possibly denting his championship chances. And a drivers thought the production cars were quick on this route. It meant a slightly different approach and, of course, the resultant faster speeds. Ford's boys loved it out there. The SP Class 2 had grown and had stepped up the competitiveness. One mistake and it's 2 or 3 places gone. And then, of course, in Alfie Cox's case, bodywork as well at the same time. And maybe that turning circle needed a little bit of work. Nissan were the defending manufacturers' trophy winners too, so Ford and Toyota were determined to put a stop to that. But the Midrand-based squad would be tough to stop, if at all. Cronje clocked the fastest production time bar none on Loop 1, but surprise, surprise, next to appear was the Ford of Woolridge and Scholthammer, with their stablemates Mark Ferguson and Craig West, and Kobus van Tonde and Rian Guapa also right there. Another new SP entry, the IDM Cement outfit with Jaco Swanepoel and Keith Solomon aboard, also gave good reckoning of themselves, announcing their presence with a solid 9th. Class D, and right here is where the Zermattens decided to take control of the 2008 season and just never relinquished it at all. The Ryobi Nissan was in full flow and also reliable. The Alberton-based men never looked back again. Class D has always been an intriguing one, with as many as half a dozen drivers and teams who have a chance at winning every time. Cliff Weichelt and Jimmy Goch was one of those. With another team of relative newcomers, Christian de Plooy and Henk Janse van Vuren, announcing their seasonal intentions early on in the same class. Class E is a breeding ground for potential SP class races, but these almost stock same vehicles had a huge rate of attrition in the PE area, and all but one of them, Dewald van Breda and Pieter du Plessis, dropped out. Toyota's Berthold and Houghton flipped their brand new Hilux, and that was the end of the road for them here, but also signaled the replacement of Bevan as a works driver for the Japanese manufacturer. At the sharp end of the field, though, it was a big moment for Toyota, as Cronje and Perkins stormed to a comprehensive 10-minute win over the rest. Only 10 SPs made it to the line after the 500 Ks, but Woolridge and Scholthammer piled on the points with a second podium finish. In Class D, it was brothers Zermatt who only won by 25 seconds over Weichelt, while the Class E victory went to Van Breda and du Plessis. For a Fluish Cronje, it was a long time coming after being so heartbreakingly close the previous season.
I mean, we started this morning not knowing, what the pace is going to be like. Got stuck behind Gary for a little while, and we just kept pushing, getting close to him. I mean, you can see what the front of my car looks like. It just roasted us with these big rocks, and eventually we got past him, and then we got into a rhythm and managed to pull a nice lead. And coming in, we weren't too sure if we had a big enough gap. We went out to the second loop. The flu was taking its toll on me, and I just decided to take it fairly easier. I had a look through the switchbacks. I couldn't see anybody, so I knew that I'd had a fair-sized lead and just brought it home. But the guys have done a great job. I mean, the car has just been so awesome this weekend.
From there, the off-road circus pitched its tents in the sugarcane of Eston in KwaZulu-Natal. Entries in the SP class had risen to an all-time high of 13 in 08, and the big 4-litre production car list was headed up by the defending champions, Duncan Foss and Ralph Pitchford, who in the fire-engine red Nissan Navara were obviously marked rather tightly due to their national champion status. In the Ford team's backyard, that would be exactly the same case, and then some. This was the third of 8 races in the series, and this part of the season started becoming defining for teams, as the early teething problems should have been sorted by now, and the car, driver and navigator as well as the mechanical combination should have settled and started delivering results. The Nissan Sugarbelt 400 was crunch time for a lot of teams, Cronje included, after picking up his first win of 08. Setting the pace at the top of the production car log, it was indeed Mark Cronje and Chris Birkin, while Foss and his co-pilot Ralph Pitchford were just 2 points back. Just 16 points separated the top 6, and that group included 4 former champions. Clearly the pressure was on. The Mecra and Excel dealer team Toyota, and the skillful hands of Hicho and Jaap de Bruin, was another season stronger in the experience department, and it showed as they worked the route for all it was worth. Under leaden and rapidly darkening skies, all the SP vehicle participants were trying to find the fastest yet safest way around a route which was mushy and slippery at times, and at others dusty and dry. Mark Ferguson and Craig West in the second Ford Ranger were jumping up the order and were on a roll when they really had one. Just into the corner with the weight on the wrong side of the car, and over she goes. But luckily it didn't take them long to change the windscreen to a special class vehicles, and they were back on terra firma and speeding along again. With Toyota's newcomer Anthony Taylor, a multiple track champion in car with navigator Robin Houghton in the third Castrol Toyota Hilux feeling his way around, he finished 8th first time out. The Burley man has a fine track pedigree, but he was far away from any blacktop here, yet he was in control and racing quickly. But the sight of the stricken Ford certainly got the Toyota lads thinking about keeping it on the straight and narrow at all times. Ivar Tollefson and standing navigator Francois Jordan made a big push mid-race and had the Toyota and Ford caps looking over their shoulders. But then the trick was to find a balance between sensible racing and preserving the Navara, which in effect is the watchword for good performances in off-road racing. Grenier thought to travel lightly would help, while Tollefson and Jordan's foray into the top 5 ended with a flat. And proving our point of the competitiveness of the Formula car after car streaked by, each one relegating the Nissan Dio one more spot. As for the Barkhuizens, George and Sharon, their charge had become reliable and therefore their consistency had improved rapidly. The husband and wife team was starting to become good value for money. Moving to Class D, and Kutsia Labaskachny and Johan Gerber were ruling the roost. Wilder Zermattens and Weichelt with Koch could not get it to the line in one piece this time. That gave De Ploo and Janssen van Vieren some valuable championship points in second. And ditto for Visser and Leroux, who are running things up front in Class E, looking for their second win of the season. But they certainly weren't having it their own way. Peckham and Santoro were all over them like a rash and pushing hard. With only 12 minutes covering the top 3, again with things so tight, mistakes were out of the question. And predictably, there were none from Duncan Foss, with Ralph Pitchford at the usual pinpoint accurate best, and a 6-minute victory for the Nissan Navara crew, as well as a leap to the top of the championship standings. Krobler and Moore had several mechanical troubles and could not crack a top 10 spot. There were 2 finishes in Class D, with the Raconic team pulling up full house of points, while Toyota packed 4 into the top 5 in Class E with an eye towards the manufacturer's trophy. Woolridge, second again, confirmed the tight racing.
Very close racing. The SP class, the way it is now, you can't even blink and someone passes you. So it was very close racing, and I think we lost a little bit of time on the first loop this morning. Maybe I was a bit too tentative with it being wet, and with the new tyres I wasn't 100% sure of them, and we kind of like lost that minute, and we're never able to make up that minute again. So kind of like kept the gap like that most of the day. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But it was a great event. The car was perfect, and no problems at all.
We won't have any either, because we're back after the break.
Vehicle and asset finance from ABSA, going the extra mile.
Proudly brought to you by MTN.
Vehicle and